DJ Darmonk here from djdarmonk.net. Today I'm going to show you how to make boom bap drums on Ableton Live. A lot of people have been asking me how I make my drums, where I get them from, all sorts of stuff. I don't use packs. I don't hate on people that do. It's just like for me, I prefer to do this. Like half of the fun is like making my own sounds, and half of I feel like I feel like the beat is more mine if I've made my own sounds, you know. So this is kind of how I do it. So I go through a lot of records and find open drums within these records, and I collect them and put them on the computer or floppy disks or whatever, and then I will just archive them all. So what I'm going to do is to make those drums my own, quote unquote, I'm going to layer them and tweak them and design them a little bit better for my purposes, and then they will be classed as my drum. So first of all, I've got 3 breaks here. Pick that one because of the kick. Jesus. Everyone knows.
Funky.
So does everyone. Right. What I'm going to do is I've opened up a drum rack and I'm going to make sure it's empty. And we're going to start with a kick. So I'm going to drag my break in there. I'm going to make sure that the volume is 0, and then I'm going to just cut to where the kick where I want it, like that one. Let's crank it, turn it down a little bit, a bit loud. I wonder if you can even hear me. Oh, that snare's nice as well. Right. So I got that kick. And I like the snare that's after it, so what I'm going to also do is hold the Alt button, drag it over to a pad 3. It's a good tip just to keep your drums all on the same pads, because then if you want a different kit when you're in a different beat, you can just drag that a different instance of the drum rack over, and all the MIDI notes will just line up to do your same kit, your same hits. So now I've got the snare. Let's get rid of that little pesky little hi-hat. Good. Sweet. And then we shall go back to our kit because we're concentrating on that. We're not getting sidetracked. And we shall hit the top and right click, group it. Open up the chain or the instrument rack. And then we'll get our other kick in here. And we'll solo it. Volume 0, just like before. Make sure the release is all the way. That's an important thing, to make sure all the releases are. There we go. Just keep it like that. Like that. I want to make it more punchy, so I'm going to make the sustain all the way down and change to decay. So it's just a little thud. So listen to them together. And then we'll get the other one on. I quite like a lot of the ghost notes, the kicks that are just before the snares. I find actually work a little bit better sometimes because they don't have any hi-hats on or anything, because they're in their own little space. They're on that 16th and a 3rd. There we go. That's a nice kick as well. All the way. We'll make sure that it's on 0. 0 dB. Wrong pad. Excelente. Now what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to filter it, because I'm going to use this one as my low end kick. Just to that 808 that people usually put underneath. You can use an 808 if you want. Or you can simp, you can get you can just get a sine wave. I'm going to use the filter, the low pass filter and the resonance to just give it a big old hit. And that's just one of them, and that's already peaking up, so I'm going to crank that one down a bit. That one's quite a nice one to just beef up the attack a bit. The first of the snare, the first little sound of the snare, you want it to be a little bit more beefy, and you want the snare to tail off in the end. And now that one it's got a nice little bit of low end, but also has that nice, like, it's not a hi-hat, but it's just where the overheads are just, the hi-hats are resonating. I'll try and crank it. Hit that. So I'm going to just take a tiny bit of the top off. Now we'll listen to them all together. That's a nice kick. Now from here you can do any of your old, your fancy tricks by compressing it or anything like that. But what I quite like to do is just make sure that everything's on phase. So I listen to 2 at a time. Listen to the top 2, and I'll just do this so it sounds nice. I think I had it a bit spot on really. Then I'll do it the last one. Probably won't be able to hear it because it's so low. There. And just kind of, I'm just listening to hear kind of when it sounds most beefy, really, yeah. And what I also like to do, which is, well, no, I don't. Let's leave that. So that's our kick. And we'll do exactly the same stuff with the snare. So we could almost even, we'll just delete that old one. I'm going to drag my old kickage. I'm going to copy it by holding Alt, and I'm going to just use the same snares. This is just for showing you sake, example's sake. Come on, computer. Come on, Arch. Boom, boom. So we've got, and now some people will be like, yeah, that's dope, but that one's alright just to keep in there. I do like that one. I'll just make sure the decay is out a little bit less. That one's got quite a nice bit of splash at the end, so I'll just take a little bit of the attack away so it gives a bit of room for everything else. And then I'll do the same thing of make sure the phasing is good. Sweet. So that's our snare. Now, I actually, because we've taken off all the reverb with all the tails, here's a couple more little tricks that almost a lot of people know how to do what I just did. Now, because we've taken all the reverb off and everything, I'm going to put a little bit of reverb on our own stuff. I'm going to change the size down. I'm not a mentalist. Change the quality to high, and then change the wet and dry to like, so you can barely hear it. And then I'm also, so let's imagine that this is our actual room reverb. So when we've recorded these, imagine I'm playing these on a proper drum, we've recorded these, the room that we've recorded it in would have its own reverb, and then we'd record it into mics, and then we'd compress it. So we're going to just compress it again. I'm going to bring all the old threshold down. Make sure it's got a little bit of spike to it. About there. Just off the top. And I'm going to even have a little bit there, like that. So what that's doing now is that's actually compressing with the reverb in. So, but not loads, because I will still, you know, when you do your mix down, you might need to compress, well, you will need to compress your drums with the hi-hats and all sorts of gubbins, you know. Also, one other thing, let's just process the snare a teeny tiny smidgen more. We'll put a little, we'll put an EQ at the end of the chain, so it's covering all of the, is it covering all of them? No. So it's covering all of the snares, and because they're going to be putting bass lines in, and there's going to be so much low end, you don't want all of this, you want to clean it up, and just take off 150, up to like 150 hertz. Then we'll find the snappy bit as well. Just because they're off records, you want to brighten them up a tiny bit, give them that little bit of crack. The more mixing you do when you make your sound kits, the better. The better it is in the long term. So we've done all of that now. I'm going to make a new track. I'm going to hit, oh, no I'm not, I'm going to make sure resampling's in, and I'm going to hit record, and then I'm going to hit my pads and just record a track. Now that sort of worked. I noticed that I spiked on the snare a smidgen, but if we have a listen, doesn't sound bad to me. We just got away with it, I think, and it sometimes adds a little bit of character like that, you know. So we've got both our sounds. So we will instruments. Get another drum rack. We can delete this Majigo now, our old one. Now what I find with Ableton, for some reason, oh shit, I hate that. For some reason, if I was to keep that other kit with all those settings on it, first of all it would be using my computer's power too much and taking up RAM. Then, for some reason when you hit the pad or when you've MIDI sequenced it or something, the envelope settings for the volume on each drum doesn't necessarily stay how you've put it. So sometimes you'll be hitting that pad over and over again, and when you've got a few of them, it gets a little bit confused, and it'll just fire one snare off and make the sustain, the decay all the way or something, and it just sounds really weird, like inconsistent. So I like to resample everything, and then it just keeps everything simple and just how I've made it, and I just make my own kits like so, and that way you kind of forget where you've got shit from. Like I could do what I did with 10 breaks, and I could make you could make 500 drums and make them all sound different just with that technique. So I just chopped our old one. We'll make sure that the volume's on 0, obviously. Right click, copy value to sibling. That copies whatever setting you've just done that on, onto every single pad. So we got that, that's good. Now, when a drummer plays ghost notes, so notes before other notes, little ones like fillers, so when you hear that first kick, that that one, that is a ghost note. But when a drummer actually hits that, if you're actually thinking that a pedal is flicking backwards and forwards, you want that pedal, oh no, the drummer wouldn't be able to hit it at maximum velocity like that both times unless he's a very skilled drummer. And I find for hip hop and jazz and all that kind of stuff, to make it swing more, it's best to copy over your kick, so you got two, get your first one, change the volume down a tiny bit and filter it a tiny bit, low pass it just a smidge, then you can go now. I'm no finger drummer, but that is the basic principles of it. You can do that with every single drum sound you can possibly think of, and don't think you just have to use drum sounds in your drum sounds. You can use clicks, pops, whatever. If you don't have a mic, plug your mic into the plug your headphones into the mic port, flick them and layer it with a snare. Make sure you EQ or make a sound to your voice, boff, or some shit, and put that with the kick. Whatever, you know, just use anything you can, get as creative as you can with it, and kind of tailor it for the music that you kind of make and do it in your own way, you know. Peace.